What's up, everyone? All right, well, I have to say, today was pretty tricky. I think it all began yesterday after hours with a couple of stocks that popped up after hours on big moves and then retraced the entire move. They didn't have any news, there was nothing really to support them going up, and that happened on four, maybe five or six stocks. So we saw these big candles as I was sitting down this morning looking at yesterday's charts of these pops and drops, pops and drops, pops and drops. And what made it even worse was that our leading gainers were up still on no news. So I felt a little unsure about trading them. So I ended up breaking the ice today, getting myself into the red on my first two trades. And I said, well, this isn't ideal, but the good news is it's early. Now, if you recall, last week, I actually had a day where on my first set of trades, I went down $25,000 on the day into the red. And I said, well, it's 24,000. I said, my daily max loss is 25,000. So let me just sit tight and be patient. And sure enough, 738, 839, we had other stocks that came up with news. And I was able to rally from being down 25 grand all the way to being green 33,000 on the day, a $53,000 swing or some $58,000 swing. And in any case, that's a solid move. So, that was last week. Today, I went down about 6,000 in the red. Not very deep. And I said, all right, let's just wait and be patient. And sure enough, we got a stock that started to squeeze. Now, we actually got a couple of stocks that put in some big moves. CYCC was by far the biggest. This went up nearly 400%. Unbelievable. What a huge move. And guess what? It was on no news. No news popped up here, popped up again, and then finally at the open, it popped up, and then it ripped from $6 to $18 a share before halting down once, twice, and now bouncing back up off the lows. So this is actually the stock that I made the most on today, but I didn't trade it until the opening range. So the first stock I traded, the one that put me in the red on the day, let's look at that first. So here's my P&L on the day, sitting at $22,000. So my daily goal is $20,000, and I broke it. But I'll have to say that this is probably going to be one of the slowest days of the month. I mean, I have to be very grateful to have $22,000 in the green be the slowest day of the month. But if I look back here, I'm sitting right now at $4.5 million on the year. And no, actually, I had a slower day, and it was right there on the Wednesday the 17th. Wednesday the 2nd was 17,000. That was actually a slower day. And then, was right back at it with some great days last week. So, yeah, interesting. Well, so anyways, I guess it's not the slowest day, but it is a slow day nonetheless. So, all right, first trade of the day was on HTOO, H2. So this one pops up, it hits the scanners. I pull it up, it's a 570,000 share float. And I'm like, okay, here we go. I punch the order for 5,000 shares and I get only a partial fill. As it was popping up right here, I bought to anticipate the squeeze through 7. I got filled at 678 right here with 3,500 shares. It goes to 7. It goes all the way up to 8. It hits a high of 888. So for my 678 average, I'm like, sweet. That's fantastic. $2 a share. And then it immediately came back down, and I sold some of it for a profit, and I sold the rest of it for a loss, and I was down $1,100 on my first trade of the day. Now, the loss on that's not really super significant for me. It's not a big dollar amount, but the sentiment that this was communicating, this was a big red flag, and I was like, this does not look good. So this is where I was feeling concerned. This big kind of red flag, high volume red candle that goes from 9 down to 4. Now the stock started popping up right here at about 655, and I thought that there was news that would explain why a stock was popping up so much. But in fact, there was no news. So now I'm like, okay, geez, I'm going to have to be pretty careful today. And if you look at some of the other stocks, just to look at a couple charts, VCIG, this one popped and reversed. We had, what else do we have? There was this one which popped up and dropped down, but then there were a couple others. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head right now. But nonetheless, maybe they'll come to me as we keep going through. So first trade of the day, HTOO, whatever. Take the loss on that. Okay, no big deal. It is what it is. Next stock, NUWE. NUWE hits the scanners, and this stock starts squeezing really fast. It had also popped up after hours. Then it pops up again right here. It goes from 9 to 12 and then drops to 6. All right, so again, on this one, this was at about 724. This is a stock that is a somewhat recent reverse split back here. I had it on my reverse split scanner, so I was waiting for a day where it started to pop up. And so when it started to pop up, I was thinking this is probably news. Now I jumped in it before I confirmed that. It was moving quickly. So I ended up jumping in it. It tops at 12, reverses, and I lost $5,000. So now I'm like, all right, pump the brakes. This is not good. Slow down a little bit. Let's just take a breath. So I took a breath and I asked myself, what is the obvious stock today? And it was XAGH. It's got 89 million shares of volume. So I said, all right, well, if this is the obvious stock, then maybe this is the one I should be focusing on. So right here, we had a flat top, double top at $6. It was had that pop after hours, popped back up here, sold off. And when it came back up right here, I got in to anticipate the break through 6. And right there, we squeezed from about 565 all the way up to a high of about 665, 670. So in that move right there, I made $20,000. Boom. Now I'm in the green. So I was like, all right, solid. The only problem was I added back right up here, topping tail reject 7, and I lost. And I got back in right up here when it was holding over 7, and it rejected again, and I lost. So even though I had actually peaked with about $25,000 of profit on XAGE, I gave back 10,000 of it off the top. So I'm finishing with $14,676.15 on XAGE. It went higher, went all the way to over $8 a share, but it was not easy to trade. Very thickly traded. It makes me wonder if we're going to see an announcement of a secondary offering because there was just so much selling on this stock today. So that one, got me green, but compared to the last few days where yesterday on one of my, I think, second trades, I made $58,000. So this was just relatively much smaller moves, not a big win. So that was around 8 a.m. And I kept trading it for a little bit. Then we had LRHC hit the scanners. And this one, this one actually had news. So it ends up popping up at 8:30 with news from 8 to 12:50 and then drops all the way back down. And even in spite of it having news, I still lost on it. So now I'm like, all right, what do we even do here? This is not good. So we're coming 8:30, we're coming up towards 9 a.m. and I've traded NUWE red on LRHC, red on TOO, HTOO, but green on XAGE. So I'm sitting up like $7,000 or $8,000 on the day. I'm green, but it's not a lot, and I'm kind of just thinking maybe I should just call it a day. And then at the opening bell, CYCC starts to squeeze up. And when it first pops up on 2 halts in a row, 1 halt and second halt, I was like, well, I missed it. It resumes and halts down, and I thought that's predictable. Then it halts back up, and it goes up to a new high a day. Then it dips down, and right here I said, you know what? This seems like it's holding. I'm going to start breaking the ice on it. So I broke the ice on CYCC with my first trade at $7.33. That was my first entry. So it was already up quite a bit when I got in there. So we had actually halted, and then I think it was the dip and rip on this resumption here where I got in. And so that was my first entry at 7:33, and I just kind of rode the momentum. I got in, I got out. I got back in, I got back out. Got back in, got back out, got back in, got back out. Dip and rip, sold the whole thing at 15. It ended up going up to a high of 18 without me. All right, so it went up a little bit higher. Now, I had a small trade in this area, but it was small size. So then we halt down once, halt down a second time. I was considering doing a reversal off the low, and I just kind of was like, I just don't think you're going to have a great, I mean, look, you're up 22,000 on the day. You hit your daily goal of 20 grand. Let's just be grateful for that. Let's not push it. You don't have much of a cushion today. It doesn't feel like you're really getting the right kind of momentum that you expect. So let's just not push it. It's already been tricky enough. You already actually went red once, and then I went deeper red. That was the way I started the day. So I just figured, since you were red, just be grateful that you've recovered to green and don't overstay your welcome. Meanwhile, we had ANPA. This one popped up, a couple moves up, halting back down. So that was a little choppy. KAPA, this one, popped up early, but is more thickly traded, lower priced, ended up being back down below VWAP. So I just sort of felt like today we just didn't have really decent action. But I will say, this is something that I'm grateful for. My winners are bigger than my losers. And so I only needed to be right on one stock to have a green day. 2 stocks, well, that's even better. So $22,000, I really can't complain. Life is good. And I'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning. And hopefully tomorrow we see a little better action. Given this big move we've had today on CYCC and the fact that there is no resistance until 23.22 on the daily, hopefully this is a stock that, gets traders a little excited for tomorrow morning. This strong sell-off and then this nice steady rally back up, you might retest the high. I could see that happening, but I'm going to take my money and be grateful. I might be leaving some money on the table today, but I just don't think today, for me, feels like it has the potential to be a really big day. And so I kind of feel like what's really the point. So I'm grateful for what I've got, and I'm going to be back at it tomorrow. So that's it for me. Reminder, as always, trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so please manage your risk, take it slow, and I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning.